I have another here. Look at this, man. And I
Wow,
even
that's
used to leave my notes,
nice.
but I remember I added some Juniper devices here.
Uh-huh.
OSPF, different areas, EIGRP. I used to do redistribution between routing protocols. This is the internet.
Mm.
Different sites. This is the two different sites. I need to send multicast traffic between them. I even did, AnyConnect from this computer
Oh,
here,
wow.
remote access
Mm-hmm.
tunnel, AnyConnect to this ASA.
The university, York University in Toronto, where I studied, the astrophysics program had a specialization in space and communication science.
And what are your thoughts on CCIE, the CCIE cert?
CCIE is a this here is a large lab that has been put together that someone can go in and recreate on their own, deciding to follow the topology and the various things that you're asked to do. So the university degree, it's very important at the beginning because that's kind of what gets you your foot in the door. As time goes on, the value of that university degree goes down. Things like certifications and experience go up. And in this case, I was the only network engineer at the municipality. So I had the whole network to myself.
If there comes the need to move to those technologies, are you in favor of that? Or you're like, no, I'm more on the side of doing the things traditionally. I'm not going to be automating stuff. This is a small lab that I created. I needed to do multicast, right? From site to site. So I did it using a GRE tunnel, PIM. So I had a lot of fun, actually.
Now, a lot of people are saying that the network engineer is slowly becoming obsolete because you have all of this automation, and you're going to be more of a software engineer rather than a network engineer because everything can be done in software now. But
is configuring network equipment via the CLI still what is usually done in companies, or how do you handle it normally? And what are your thoughts on MikroTik? If you're listening to this as a podcast, remember that it was originally recorded as a video. If you're not following along, you can go to my YouTube channel. My username is Linkarzu. And if you want to support me to keep this podcast going, you can donate in Ko-fi. I'm going to leave a link in the description. All right, so let's get started with this chapter then. All right, so the other day I needed to refresh some networking topics. I needed to remember about BGP. I needed to remember about MPLS, routing protocols, a lot of stuff. So I went on YouTube and I found a channel, which is the guest that I have today, Lazarus. How are you doing today, Lazarus?
I'm doing well. Nice to be with you.
Okay. Thanks for your time. Thanks for you being here. I know you have a company. I know you're busy, so really appreciate it. So, like I was saying, I was going through YouTube and I found your channel and I see that you talk about networking. I did watch your MPLS, BGP, and other videos that you have, right? The playlists that you have there. We're gonna get to know your channel more in a little while, but before we get there, you mind sharing a little bit more about you, like who Lazarus is?
Sure. My name is Lazarus Agapidis. I am a telecom and networking engineer. I love telecom and networking. I'm very passionate about it. And I guess that passion is something that has kind of overflowed into the creation of this YouTube channel, which is how you found me. My primary job isn't teaching. I run a small telecom and networking consulting firm with both local and customers that are both local and abroad. But I've recently started with this YouTube channel because all of the various skill sets and knowledge that I've accumulated, I figured I want to share it because I love sharing it and it's something I'm passionate about. And I want to share it in a way that I wish I was taught when I was learning.
Oh, yep. I did notice that. And I was wondering, like, who this guy is. Where has this guy been? I wanted to watch videos about spanning tree and other networking topics.
you didn't have them, and I was like, okay, I'll have to go and watch someone else. But yep, where are you from? Where are you based?
Well, I was born and raised in Canada. I studied there. I worked there for a year, and then I met my wife, who is from Crete, in Greece. And I decided to move to Greece, and I did. I am of Greek descent, so I knew the language.
Okay.
And I've been here for almost 25 years. But I do have, like I said before, I do have both local customers as well as customers that are abroad.
Okay. Now, just so people that is watching this video, there's multiple ways people take in life, right? I decided to go the wrong way at the beginning of my life. Why did you choose the right path? Like, because you have a company. What inspired you to take this path, and how did it all start? If you want to share that with us.
Sure. I wouldn't say that I took the right path. I would say that I took the wrong path quite a few times, and I learned from that. And that was part of the right path. So in a sense, you can say that sometimes the wrong path is part of the right path. When I was growing up, I was really interested in space, astrophysics. I would always read up on, go to the library at that. Then it wasn't, we didn't have that much connectivity with the internet. And I would read up on astronomy and space probes and things. And I would always follow along on TV because I was really interested in this. So I started studying, when I went to university, I studied astrophysics. But I was fortunate because at the university, York University in Toronto, where I studied, the astrophysics program had a specialization in space and communication science. And it was really those courses that I loved the most, the ones that had to do with communication, with wireless signaling, signal processing, electromagnetic radiation, even spacecraft systems design. I really, really loved those. Those really inspired me. So by the end of my bachelor's degree, I decided I didn't want to continue with physics. And I went on to do telecommunications management, a postgraduate at Sheridan College, also in Toronto. And I fell in love with it. The course was 50-50 between business approach and technology. And these two things really do go hand in hand. You have to understand both in order to be able to go forward. It's not... It's somewhat limiting if you just deal with the technology or if you just deal with the business side. If you have both, it frees you up to move forward more effectively. So after I finished that, I started working at Sprint Canada. This was way back in the last millennium, 1999. Mm-hmm. Sprint Canada doesn't exist anymore. Neither does Sprint in the US. But I was in the voice traffic engineering department. And that was really interesting. I was there for a year. It was an excellent start for me. And then was the point where I met my wife. I came to Greece. And I started going kind of in a new direction. Not so much with voice, but more with data. I got a job with at the University of Crete at the Networking and Communication Center, which is where I started working more with networking, with Cisco specifically, and especially Cisco products. I started working with Cisco's voice over IP deployment, which was the call manager, version 4.3, which is quite old, if that means anything to anyone. And that was where I really started expanding on my networking area. And it was really nice that I was at the university because the university is a large organization. So I got to play with a big network, which is you don't easily get to have such experience.
Yep.
So that really, I was able to take off with that, being able to play with such a large network.
Oh.
But I found that I started getting restless after a few years. I felt I wasn't I wasn't moving forward very much anymore. So I took a job at the municipality here in the city of Heraklion, which is another large organization which has a big network. And in this case, I was the only network engineer at the municipality. So I had the whole network to myself, unlike the university where I was working with others. So the network was my own. And at that time, there was a new fiber optic network that was a municipal fiber optic network that was being put in that interconnected the multiple buildings of the municipality. So I'm now in charge of an organization with 1,000 users. I had their IP telephony system. I had their fiber optic network that I was managing. I had their wireless network, which was at the time the largest municipal wireless network in the country. And that really expanded my horizons because I got a chance to deal with a lot of technology. But at the same time, and I'm kind of going on a monologue here. I apologize.
No,
I'm getting excited by what I'm sharing. At the same time, that my supervisor played a very important role in my progress. I was also he allowed me to take part in the city's smart city initiatives. So I had the opportunity to connect with European programs like URBACT, where we would promote a smart city initiative that we had put together for the city. So that also allowed me to connect with people and take part in broader and larger networks. So my passion, I guess, played a role in that, because that's kind of the driving force behind learning new things, behind getting to know people, behind networking with other cities in Europe. So that was a really great experience. But again, I felt at some point I was outgrowing the position, and that's when in 2017 I founded telecomTech, which is like I said, a consulting firm. But I still have the municipality as a client. And I've expanded to other municipalities as well. But I started expanding to customers that were abroad over, with freelancing sites. I was able to work with some very interesting people throughout the world. And that was very, very inspiring. And I guess at some point I figured, okay, I've accumulated knowledge, skill sets in a wide area of telecom and networking. And I wanted to start sharing that. And I wanted to start allowing that knowledge to bring back some benefit. So I started sharing it using YouTube. And like I said, sharing this knowledge with people in a way that I wish I was taught when I was learning is very important to me, and it's enjoyable. So I guess that's just a brief, not so brief summary of my path over the past couple of decades.
So I noticed that you were always after something else, after something new. Like, why didn't you stay at the position at the municipality, right? Like, were you looking for new challenges? You felt that it was not enough anymore? Or because people find a stable job, they stay there for life, right? So why did you decide to move to something else?
Because it didn't give me the satisfaction that it did initially. I think the satisfaction came from growing, came from learning, came from experiencing new things. From 2007 until 2017, 10 years, I grew to a point where the specific job position didn't have anything new to offer me. So I think that it just felt right. I don't think I can describe it better than that.
Yep. We have all gone through that. When you get used to the job, it's like you do it in an automated sort of way, and there's nothing new, challenging that excites you. So people tend to, I don't know, find new paths, I guess. Do you want to add anything else to your professional experience in networking? I think you covered a lot there. That's like the next topic. Anything else you want to add?
Well, I'm in general. I don't focus on one thing. I guess my primary focus is generally networking, and that's why on the YouTube channel you'll see MPLS, VXLAN, BGP, and I will get to spanning tree that you mentioned before. So stay tuned for that. But I've also done training in 5G networks as well, in collaboration with Skillsoft, which is a large training company in the States and Canada. So I guess my expertise is quite broad in telecom and networking. So and the amazing thing is that you get to a point where your skill set is enough to allow you to learn new things. So, it's one thing to be able to say, okay, I deal with IPv4, IPv6, and so on. I didn't really know much about 5G, but when I was approached to create a course or content for 5G, I did the research and I was able to learn. Because I was able to have the background and the foundation necessary to be able to learn. So part of the experience, the gaining of experience, has to do with learning to learn, learning to learn these new things in the area of telecom and networking.
Okay. So we have your YouTube channel here, telecomTech. You have 7,000 subscribers already. When did you start with your channel? Around how long ago?
Well, in my first official video, although it does say there that I joined in June of 2023, my first official video came out in September of that year. So it's been a year and a half.
Okay. And what videos do we expect to find here? I know that I did find OSPF, BGP, MPLS related stuff. What else should people expect to find in your channel?
Well, at this point in time, I have playlists for BGP, MPLS, VXLAN. I've currently started a new playlist on OSPF. So you'll find a series on that. I have done a few videos that are a little bit older on voice over IP, subnetting, IPv4 subnetting. I talk a little bit about IPv6. But those were videos that kind of explored what kind of topics people were interested in. But I found that the ones that have playlists like MPLS, VXLAN, and OSPF are the more popular ones. I am planning on focusing on additional series and playlists that are CCNP focused. I don't want to create videos or playlists that are specific to a particular course or blueprint because those change. So I'm focusing more on things that will still be valid 5, 10, 15 years from now. And that might sound like a long time, but BGP, for example, has been around since 1998.
Yep, you're right. Okay. And what else? Well, what's the catch with YouTube? Like, why YouTube? Because I did see the content and it's pretty great. And I'm like, what's the catch, basically? That's my question. Why are you doing this?
So I want to move away from network design and architecture for clients, and I want to move more towards teaching and training. So I figured YouTube would be a good starting point for me to gain experience in how to create videos, because I had no experience in this area. I also want to use YouTube as a funnel in order to lead people to my website, which is telecomtech.io. For now, on this site, I have information about myself. I have information about the YouTube channel. I have some blogs on topics that are described in the YouTube channel as well. But soon I'm going to start offering in-depth courses with labs and downloadable PDFs, configuration files, quizzes, and so on in various areas. And I'm currently preparing the BGP course, which is essentially following a similar path to what the YouTube channel is, sharing. But I'm going much more in depth with live labs and content that people can download and can create on their own.
Is this going to be related, like you said, to a specific vendor? Like, is this going to be Cisco, Juniper related, or more general?
It's going to be Cisco related. I will be using Cisco devices. But in general, the idea is that it can be applicable to other vendors as well. Cisco in general has this philosophy. All of their content in general is about 40% about the equipment and 60% about the technology. So by going through Cisco courses like CCNP, CCNA, and so on, you don't only learn about Cisco. You also learn about the technologies themselves. But I am focusing on Cisco because that's the vendor which I am most familiar with and I'm comfortable with. And I guess it's the vendor that I started off with at the beginning, and that's kind of my first love in a sense. Now, other than the courses that are coming up, I already have available a Telecom and Networking Professionals Career Roadmap, which you can download. And it's essentially a 27-page document that has information, insights, strategies, and so on concerning how you can move forward in your telecom and networking career. You can register and download the document. It's completely free. And in it, I also describe some of the things I've shared with you now about my path and about the various events that took place that led me to where I am now and where I see myself in the future as well.
I noticed that it's pretty simple to follow along in your videos, and it's really complex topics like MPLS, BGP. It's not something simple to teach. Do you have experience teaching? Have you taught professionally in the past or something?
Well, I haven't done any. I haven't been taught to teach, if that's what you mean. For example, I haven't taken courses on how to convey this information. It's just from my own experience. I started out really when I was at the university, when the university wanted to create a Cisco academy. So I was sent for a month to do training on CCNA, and that's when I first got my first CCNA as an instructor. So the Cisco Academy didn't end up happening at the university, but I was happy because I got my certification and I started teaching on my own, people who were interested in that. And I found that I was good at it, and others were telling me that I was good at it, and I would be able to share these complex topics and break them down so that people would be able to understand them. So I because I enjoyed it as well, I started sharing all of these things with courses. And since then, when I started several years ago with telecomTech as a company, I got connected with a guy named Rene Molenaar, who has network lessons. He is in the Netherlands. He is a Cisco networking guru, not only Cisco, but other quite a few areas as well. And I started working with him just as a forum moderator. I was one of 2 or 3 moderators that were on his site. Over the years, the other moderators left. I started taking on more and more responsibilities, and as you can probably see here, my activity on the forum, I have 9,600 posts in about 8 years. So you can see this was probably another one of those big steps forward. I did mention about the university that was a big network. I was able to learn a lot. The municipality, a big network, and it was all mine, and I was able to learn a lot. This is another big stepping stone in my journey that really helped me, because I had to respond to all of these forum posts concerning a whole bunch of different technologies. So I learned a lot by researching them and responding. And over the years, I've been working more in depth with Rene, creating various labs as well. You can see he has a lot of different courses that he prepares them in a different format from what I do. He prepares them as lessons. So if we go into OSPF and we take a look at Introduction to OSPF, it's a lesson that talks about various things about this particular technology and protocol. And then people ask questions and I respond, and that's been something that's really helped me a lot. Yes, what I wanted to say before as well was that other than the forum and the lessons, we've put together with Rene some labs as well. This here is a large lab that has been put together that someone can go in and recreate on their own, deciding to follow the topology and the various things that you're asked to do. So you can do it on your own. If you get stuck, you can follow along in the tasks that are listed here, and it really helps out to learn these fundamental technologies. So I think that this along with my other teaching experience that I mentioned is one of the major things that has helped me to be able to explain things simply. Other than that, I've also been involved with, I think I mentioned it before, with Skillsoft, which is a training company. I have created several 5G courses as well. So this, for example, is a Skillsoft course that I've put together, and it talks about what you learn.
And is that a video course?
It is a video course, and as you can see here, you have the various, they're small little nuggets. The first two videos are free for you to check out, or you can, if you purchase the course, you can follow along. But this is a content that I've prepared for Skillsoft, and then they take it and run with it. There are over 20 courses that I've created for 5G for Skillsoft.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Now, do you offer other services? You mentioned that you work with different municipalities, right? So you also teach. You teach in different platforms. Do you offer different services?
As a company, I guess there are two major, other than teaching, there are two major areas that we work with. On the one hand, we have the local customers, which are municipalities. We now have 5 municipalities on the island of Crete, where we support either their networks or their Wi-Fi network, or both, their telephony. And I have 2 employees that work with the local these local customers. And then I have the overseas customers, which involve, which I've shared already with about Rene and the work I do with him. But I'm also involved in copywriting. I write up both ghost writing as well as writing under my own name, various blogs about telecom technology. The topics that I've talked about include BGP, they include voice over IP, 5G, as well as various other areas. But that too is one of my major activities. And I guess that kind of falls into training and teaching and sharing information in a way that's easy to understand.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Now, there's something that I wanted to ask you that is, I don't know, something that I have in the top of my mind all the time. What are your thoughts on the role of the traditional network engineer? Because nowadays, everything is more automated. You hear about Terraform, you hear about Ansible everywhere. So what are your thoughts there on that traditional role? You know, like Cisco, you SSH into the router, you configure it, command by command. What do you think is going to happen to the network engineer?
It's interesting because I started out before all of this automation came in. So I was a very CLI type guy, as most people of my generation, my age. So I had to pivot. I had to diversify. I had to learn new skills as I was going down. Now, a lot of people are saying that the network engineer is slowly becoming obsolete because you have all of this automation, and you're going to be more of a software engineer rather than a network engineer because everything can be done in software now. But I'm convinced that unless you have a solid understanding of networking and protocols, you won't be able to sufficiently use these tools. If you don't know the underlying fundamentals of IP, IPv6, TCP, routing protocols, and so on, you still will not be able to use all of these automation tools, Python, Ansible, and generally network automation. You won't be able to use them to their full potential. Someone who doesn't have very much experience in networking might be able to do a few things with automation now, but if you don't understand the fundamentals behind all of it, you'll never be able to fully understand and implement it in the best possible way.
Okay. So do you think there's still a lot of room for people that want to get started in traditional networking? Should they start with all of this Cisco and CLI related stuff, or what's your advice there? Like,
if
to
you're
get to know the
interested,
basics.
Right. If you're interested in networking, you should start with CLI. You should start with the command line. You should start by configuring STP, line by line, device by device, configuring routing, interface by interface. Otherwise, you won't understand the logic behind the protocol. Eventually, in a production network, you might never or very rarely go in and use the CLI, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't know how it works. And that's why most of the courses that are given out there by Cisco and others as well, and even my videos, they focus on the command line interface. They focus on the understanding of the functionality of the protocols. And if you don't use the CLI, if you don't take a look and see all of those show commands and understand all of those things, you won't be able to understand the protocol, and then you won't be that useful in the network design and so on. Now, you might be able to, deploy a network, but you'll have a lot of trouble in troubleshooting it.
Yep.
You'll have a lot of trouble in understanding why it works the way it works. And I think that's an important aspect of being a good telecom and networking engineer. Otherwise, you're just, you're just an amateur. Otherwise, if you don't know the fundamentals behind all of it.
Yep. And is configuring network equipment via the CLI still what is usually done in companies, or how do you handle it normally?
It depends on the philosophy of the company. I think it also depends on what part of the world you're in. From my experience, my clients, at least here in Greece, they're not big fans of spending money to automate. They're happy to keep the things the way they are. And I think it's just a matter of philosophy or the way things work. In other countries, you'll find that people are more willing to spend the money to automate, because in the long run you do save money because you need fewer people to support them, and you can free up people's time to do other things as well. But it's really a matter of philosophy. I found from my experience locally, the CLI is fine. People don't want to spend the money to create the automation or develop the automation. Elsewhere, overseas, from my experience, the philosophy is different, and people will spend the time. So I guess it really depends on who your customers are.
Yeah, I did notice that at my previous company, everything was CLI managed a few years ago, but it's moving away from that to maintaining configurations and all that stuff in GitHub and stuff like that. So it depends, but that's the company that I was on before, which is a big company. Locally, like you said, here where I live, people is not gonna automate things yet. Not as of yet. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but where I'm at, we're behind a few years, and I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. Because, like you said, it requires money, right? You need to have people that can do it, and they just don't want to invest in that, I guess, as of yet.
Yeah. And I guess one of the skill sets that we as networking engineers need is to be able to convey the necessity of such things to the decision makers, who are not technical people. They're business people, they're business administration, and so on. So you have to be able to convey that, but you can only convey it up to a point. Ultimately, it's their decision, and the philosophy and approach that they have is something that will affect that, definitely.
And what's your take on learning new stuff like Terraform, Ansible? Are you on the side of, if there comes the need to move to those technologies, are you in favor of that? Or you're like, no, I'm more on the side of doing the things traditionally. I'm not going to be automating stuff. What's your take on that? Like, what's your...
I think, well, we did say that in your part of the world, my part of the world, people are not that open to such changes, but the changes will take place. Whether it's faster or slower, they eventually will take place. And you have to be, you have to move with the times. You have to learn new things. So I would say that definitely it's something that we must do. We have to, we as network engineers, we have to learn these new things. So I'm definitely for learning it. It depends also on where you are in your journey. Someone who's just out of university is in a better position to learn this new technology than someone like myself. 25 years in the industry, I still like learning new things, and I do. It's just I can't learn as fast, maybe, as someone who's something completely new, as someone who's maybe 25 or 30 years old. But definitely, it's something that's necessary. It's something that's good. It's actually part of the excitement that's involved with this area, because there's always something new to learn, and I think that I personally enjoy that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and what advice do you have for people that is just thinking about starting? Let's say that I'm in the university. You learn a lot of stuff in the university, not just focused to a specific topic, and you don't know what path to take. So what advice do you have for people just starting or thinking about to start in the networking world?
Yeah. Well, the networking is a field which is very flexible. So my experience, my example is that I started off with physics and astronomy bachelor's degree. And through that, I was able to go into telecom. So you have a lot of options. You have a lot of opportunity to pivot. It's not like when you study to be a doctor, you need a medical degree in order to be a doctor. Or a lawyer. You need law school, go through the bar exam, and so on. And you're locked in a sense. With telecom, there's a lot more freedom and flexibility. You want to learn something new, learn it, get your certification, and go with it. It doesn't really matter so much what university degree you have. Of course, it affects it. I mean, if you're in computer science or telecommunications or engineering, it's more related to these things. But I know people who have studied biology, chemistry, even someone who has studied theology and has gone into networking. So it's a very flexible path that you can take. And actually, I wanted to share at this point something that I've put together that I mentioned before, the Telecom and Networking Professionals Roadmap. This is a 27-page document that I've put together, and it's essentially a guide for you to plan your path in telecom. It's organized in a way where you can see where you are now and examine what your very next step is, which I think is the most important question you have to answer today. And it's the biggest challenge often. You said, what happens if you're in university? What do you do? What's your next step? Well, if you're not sure, you have to find out where you are and see where you want to go. This document is actually organized as a roadmap. This is an overview of the roadmap, and throughout the document, I describe each section separately. For example, you have post-secondary studies, which is the question you asked about in university. And what I do for each section is I have an example. If we go to post-secondary, laying the foundation, I describe what that point in your journey is, and then I have a series of points with advice. And this advice is specific to that point in your journey. And it's advice that will help you to see where you are and see where you want to go. Hopefully, you'll be able to find yourself in this path and use that document and use the roadmap to decide what your next step is going to be. And I want to share with you one section here that talks about various points of entry. So you're able to enter into telecom and networking from various points. I mean, you can enter before university. I know of someone who's on the networking lessons forum who's 17 years old. He's in high school, and he already has a very solid grasp of networking. This guy got in very early, and he's going to be, he's going to go places. He's going to be very, he's going to move forward very quickly. But you don't necessarily have to start off that early. Some people enter after university, like I did. Other people get their business administration masters, and then they get into networking. And where you enter...
Let me share a little bit about my journey there, if I may.
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't continue in the university. Well, I am now. I'm 37 years old. This is my final year university. But when I started, I wanted something faster that gave me results faster. So I decided to go with networking. Decided to go with CCNA, right? Got my certification. I got another one afterwards, which was CCNA security back then. Doesn't exist anymore, but you dealt with the ASA, Cisco ASA firewall. Then I got my CCNP, and that helped me get jobs, basically, right? So the certifications did help me. I got promoted. I got different jobs. Then I came into a point in which that's what I was like, I want to try something different. So I moved away from networking and I wanted to go more into the infrastructure side of things, Linux monitoring. I was a monitoring engineer at my previous company. I worked there for like 7 years. I got laid off, I don't know, like 3 months ago, something like that. But given the job market now, it's difficult for me to find a job currently, especially the country that I'm in. There's not a lot of positions here. So I have to go back to being a networking engineer now. So gives you options, right? And I didn't want to finish the university. I don't think I needed too much. It does gives me a lot of other topics that I can cover, programming and stuff like that. So it adds more tools to my belt, right? So like you said, I didn't start the university. I started with networking. Then, started university. I'm going to finish it soon. And I can switch between the two environments, networking, infrastructure side of things. If I don't find an option in one place, I can migrate to the other. But just continue. Just wanted to add that there.
Definitely. That's very helpful. And actually, I wanted to share this graph that I've created from within the document that kind of gives you an idea of the importance of the university degree, importance of certifications, and the importance of experience. And at what point in your career each one is important. So the university degree is very important. You can see it here. It's very important at the beginning because that's kind of what gets you your foot in the door to get your first job. Right out of university, maybe you've done some practical what is it called? Like an internship. And then you get your foot in the door through that university degree. As time goes on, that the value of that university degree goes down. And things like certifications and experience go up. So at some point, certifications become the most important thing. Maybe 5, 7, 10 years after your first job. And this is what I found in my life. Certifications were something that really helped me to take off
at the beginning.
In that part of my life. Yes.
Yep.
At the very beginning, it's university degrees. After several years, it's certification. And then even the importance of certifications go down after 10, 12, 15 years. And it's really the experience, which is what's most important. This is a general guideline. By no means are the lines supposed to be exactly there. Your graph might be a bit different, but in general, this is what I've found from my experience.
Interesting. Okay. Do you have any certifications, Lazarus?
I do. I have actually. I was looking at them. I was looking at them today to kind of remember which ones I had in the past, because some of them are expired or have been retired, like yours. I do have CCNP enterprise infrastructure. And CCNA security, CCNA collaboration, Cisco video network representative, CCNA security, wireless, voice. So I had a wide variety of Cisco certifications, even the ones that are retired. But other than that, I've also done some MikroTik as well as some Ubiquiti. Those were done more for to gain a little bit of experience with those platforms as well, because I wanted to broaden my my understanding of those as well. Those are the certifications I have.
Okay, so that's the next topic that I have here. So, do you recommend certifications? What are your thoughts or your advice there for people just starting?
I definitely recommend certifications. Certifications are a way that you can verify the skill sets you have, and they're verified by some authority. And that's why it's important to choose the appropriate certifications that are well known in the industry, certifications that are widespread, like Cisco, Microsoft, Amazon, Juniper, MikroTik, Ubiquiti. So these that are well recognized. It's important, and I think the graph that I showed before is also shows when they're important. I found that my CCNP was the most valuable certification that I had. It really opened a lot of doors for me at that particular point in my career.
Yep, same happened to me. I got my CCNP,
Yeah.
and I got promoted where I was working at. Eventually, I just reached the point, like I said, that I wanted to explore new things, but it wouldn't have been possible without the CCNP, because
Yeah.
other people that have the certification and that know how difficult it is to get it will pay attention. It's going to draw their attention. They're going to be like, okay, so it's like a starting point, right? It makes you stand out from other people for sure, right?
It does. It does.
Then
Yeah.
I moved into infrastructure. I didn't need CCNP there, because I wasn't doing any networking related stuff. So I just let it expire. I was not going to renew it. I was like, I'm not going to invest my time in that at the moment because it was not, I wasn't using it, right? So, but still, it's there in your resume. You know that you're CCNP. And what are your thoughts on CCIE, the CCIE cert?
CCIE is a very, very valuable asset to have. Now, someone might ask, well, why don't you have it? For myself. The reason is because I don't, at this point, I think I'm beyond the point in the graph where the curve gives me, where CCIE will give me the benefit I need. A CCIE has been compared to half a PhD. As far as the amount of time you need to do it and the how difficult it is. So if you have two CCIEs in two different areas, it's like having a PhD. As far as how difficult it is to get and how valuable it is as an asset. If you do achieve it, it's definitely something that's a major milestone in your career. If this was 10 years ago, I would probably go for it. For me, at this point in time, it's not worth the amount of time I'll need to invest in order to get it for the benefits that it will give me.
Yeah. So the question is then, when should you get your CCIE? Should you get your CCIE if you're working in networking related stuff? Of course, right? Would it make sense, I don't know, to get it once you have a little bit of experience in networking? Or let's say that I'm just starting. I don't work in networking. Should I go for my CCIE first? Or should I work in the industry first?
If you're right at the beginning, I think the most important thing is starting to gain experience. So if you have a university degree or some credentials that will get your foot in the door at a job, go for that. Start gaining experience. Start being able to say, I have 1 year experience at such and such a job in your resume, 2 years, 3 years. Start building that up. And at the same time, start with low-level certifications like CCNA so that you get a feel for what it's like to write those exams. And do it in an area that you're interested in. Start off with your basic CCNA, and then see if you can diversify that. Go for various other certifications at that level, and then move on to CCNP and then CCIE. I would not recommend going directly to CCIE, even if you have a lot of experience from your job, because the content that you need to learn for CCIE is very broad. So you would never cover all of that in any type of job, because the job you have is usually very focused on something very specific. If you're a network engineer, you might be dealing with MPLS on an ISP. You might know MPLS very, very well and answer all the questions on MPLS and do well in your CCIE, but there's so much more involved that you need to learn. So don't depend just on your experience. You should start off with your CCNA and then CCNP and then go on to your CCIE. I think that's the best, the path that will give you the highest degree of success. Because when you do go for your CCIE, you do pay several thousand dollars, and if you don't pass, you have to fork out that money again at a later date to do it again. And there's a very high percentage of failures in the CCIE, which is good on the one hand because you know that it is a difficult and it's a valuable piece of paper.
So your advice is do not skip CCNP because there's people that want to go from CCNA directly to CCIE. So it's recommended to go through CCNP.
That would be my recommendation. That's not to say that someone can't do it. I know people who have done it, but I think the safest, or maybe not the safest, but the most the path that will give you the most success, I think, is going through CCNP and then CCIE. Okay.
What are your thoughts on these other certifications that are more general? COMPTIA. There's like a general certification, COMPTIA. It's not like vendor related, but overall networking concepts. Would you recommend that certification?
I would recommend that as well. I would consider it to be on par with CCNA. It is vendor neutral, but it is comprehensive. In the past, I have worked with a company in the UK that was preparing content for people that were wanting to take that certification. So I've had quite a bit of experience about the content that it covers. So it's very, very closely related to CCNA. I think it's virtually at the same level. So if you're considering being more vendor neutral in your approach, or in the company you're working for, you're not focusing only on Cisco, it is of some benefit to go for the CompTIA rather than Cisco. But like I mentioned before, Cisco has a high degree of vendor neutrality, meaning that what you learn can also be applied elsewhere and not just on Cisco equipment.
Okay. What are your thoughts on virtualization software, however it's called, emulation software? I don't know. GNS3, EvenG, Packet Tracer. What do you recommend?
Yes, network simulators, network emulators. They're extremely useful. They're a very good way of learning for certifications, even creating like a test bed for a topology you might want to create in a production network, just to see how it behaves, or just to use it as a learning tool. Now, Packet Tracer is very CCNA oriented. It's not an emulator, it's a simulator, which means it tries to simulate the behavior of network devices, which means it only has a subset of the capabilities of devices. So it's not actually running the Cisco I/O software. It's running a software package that acts like the Cisco I/O software. So it's very limited for anything beyond CCNA. So if you're just getting started, Packet Tracer is fine. It's free. It's a good way of getting accustomed to Cisco CLI and Cisco devices. GNS3 and EvenG are two open source emulators that you can run on your computer. They have a steeper learning curve, but they too are very useful. They are actually emulators, which means that they actually run the iOS software itself. The problem with that, though, is that Cisco does not give its iOS software for free. So you have to find someone who has some contract with Cisco to give you, in quotes, give you the
Images.
iOS image, the images. Cisco turns a blind eye. Strictly speaking, it's not legal to have them unless you have a contract. But in general, because it's a benefit to Cisco, Cisco will turn a blind eye to such things. There are other solutions like Cisco CML, specifically for Cisco devices, which is Cisco certified, and it's they have, because it's a paid option. They support it very well, and it's less buggy, and you can be more sure that things will work as expected. But by no means does that mean that GNS3 or EVNG are not useful. They are extremely useful, and if you can get over that learning curve, they're good tools to have.
Out of the two, which one do you prefer, GNS3 or EVNG?
I would say GNS3. I have more experience with it, but I believe that EVNG is a little more user friendly in its deployment and setting it up, especially. GNS3 is a bit older. Maybe it's a little more mature as a. This is my personal experience, my personal opinion. Someone might disagree, but that's fine. Personally, I prefer GNS3 simply because I have more experience with it, and I started out using it before EVNG was available. And by no means are we saying to anyone that they should get those images in an illegal way. No, they should receive them through legal channels. Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. And what's your favorite vendor, your favorite network equipment? Is it Cisco or what is it?
I would have to say Cisco. Not to say that it's necessarily better than others, but it's just that I started off with it, and it's difficult to move away from your first favorite. Not to say that I haven't used other vendors, and one vendor that I'm quite impressed with is Ubiquiti. I've used them quite a bit for point-to-point links and for Wi-Fi networks as well. And I had set up a point-to-point link that was about 5 kilometers distance in a mountainous area here in Crete, and it was running for over 8 years without me touching it. It was there. I got a call, 8 years later from the person saying, "Hey, my for some reason the network is down. What's going on?" But it was 8 years later, so it's that's a long time, and for equipment it's relatively cheap as well.
Okay, Ubiquiti. Okay. Going back to GNS3, I just wanted to show, I was going through my notes from a long time ago, and I did a lot of labbing back in time. This is a small lab that I created. I needed to do multicast, right, from site to site. So I did it using a GRE tunnel PIM. So I had a lot of fun, actually. Now that I remember, man, I spent hours, days doing these labs. This is just something basic, but doing this is what got me to know Docker. I think these are Docker images that I could run in GNS3. So
right.
This got me thinking about Docker, infrastructure, all of those things. And if you don't know the basics, like you said, you cannot build stuff like this. You cannot understand how the internet, how networks work, how protocols work. So
right.
I don't know. This is like a video game, right? Doing these type of things. I think it's pretty fun. You learn a lot. There's no way you can do this. I don't have the resources, the equipment to do this in the real life, right? So it's a
Yeah,
pretty good way to get started if you want to practice.
definitely. And if you want to get good in in networking, you know, you should spend about 60 to 70% of your time just labbing things up. Lab them again and again and again. Without actually labbing, you can't learn.
Yeah.
Labbing is among the best ways to learn networking.
I have another here. Look at this, man. And
Wow,
I even
that's
used to leave my
nice.
notes. It doesn't make too much sense, you know. It's not something like real world, but I remember I added some Juniper devices here, OSPF, different areas, EIGRP. I used to do redistribution between routing protocols. This is the internet, different sites. This is the two different sites that need to send multicast traffic between them. I even did, AnyConnect from this computer here.
Oh, wow.
Remote access tunnel, AnyConnect to this ASA. So
Yeah.
I did spend way too long doing all of that stuff, but I really enjoyed it.
So it looks like GNS3 is your favorite emulator.
Yeah. Because I try to do this in AVNG or AVNG, I don't know how it's pronounced, but I couldn't deploy Docker images. Like this is a Docker image here. This Ubuntu computer is a Docker image. These are Docker. So I couldn't do that unless I paid for EVNG. And I could do that freely on GNS3. So that's why I decided to go with it. And VLANs, man, it's like a video game, right? So I really enjoyed doing that back in time. So
it's really only network engineers or anyone who understands networking in this way that finds enjoyment in this. You know, I talk about it with my wife, and she can't understand why I'm so passionate about these little black screen with white letters coming up on the CLI and not understanding anything. She says, how can you be passionate about that? How does it work? It takes a certain type of person, I think.
Yep. People that is into technology and all that stuff. Same thing with my wife. I talked to her about GNS3 a lot in the past. Every new technology that I learn, she is the one that has to listen to that stuff, you know? So it was GNS3, Cisco, was Juniper, Linux, all of the different topics. I talk about them with her. She doesn't get it. She just listens. But I don't know. I think it's kind of annoying for them, you know, to be listening to all that stuff.
But it's nice that she listens.
Yeah,
that's important.
Yeah,
good.
And what are your thoughts on MikroTik? The MikroTik routers.
I think there are big positives with MikroTik, but also some negative aspects as well. The positive things are that they're generally quite financially cheap. Yes, they're cheap. They have a lot of options concerning functionality. You know, they're very customizable. There's a lot of options on how to, configure them. Their configuration is somewhat unintuitive, I would have to say. Again, this is my personal opinion. And I believe that it's unintuitive. It's somewhat difficult to configure them to make them behave the way you expect them to. And there are some strange little quirks in how you have to configure them. And in general, you'll find I find that they don't have the same level of reliability as other vendors, which makes sense. I mean, they're cheaper. If you need something to work quickly and you want to set it up, buy it, fix it, make it, put it in, and make it work. But like I said, they're very configurable, so you can do a lot of things with them. But I think that the major concern is reliability. So if you have a mission critical network where you need high reliability and you need to make sure everything's working 24/7, don't use MikroTik. But if you have a small office or a service you want to deploy quickly and well and flexibly, by all means,
Makes sense. Yep.
I think it's a matter of what you actually need.
Okay.
So they are good. They're excellent for specific purposes.
Okay. Like for the house, in my house, I have 2 ISPs, right? Because I worked from home. Well, I work from home. So I need something stable. I need internet all the time, or I needed internet all the time. So it was like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to use? Cisco, I cannot afford a Cisco router. And it's going to be a huge thing making noise there in the living room. My wife is going to hate it. You know, I could probably get like a Meraki device, but they're expensive.
Yeah.
And I did get some OpenSense routers in a virtual machine. They worked with the 2 ISPs well, but they had some small issues because I used to run them as virtual machines. So I was like, what should I go with? It's just a house. So I heard about MikroTik. I purchased the MikroTik router, I don't know, like $100 or something. And I have it configured with the 2 ISPs. It's not simple because you need to do scripting, right? So you need to program the router itself so that when it detects that one of the links is down, switch to the other one and vice versa, right? So it sends me messages. If one of the ISPs is down, of course, the other one has to be up. It's going to send me a message to Telegram, letting me know that one of the ISPs is down. But it's not simple to set up. I completely agree there because you need to do everything via scripts, and it gets involved, really involved, and kind of complicated. You're not doing a lot of networking anymore. You're doing more like programming, we would say.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you had, I don't know, experiences with MikroTik in big businesses? Like, are there any drawbacks, things that are not compatible with Cisco equipment? Like, have you managed them in BGP or just small networks?
I don't have any experience with MikroTik in large networks. I've mostly used them for quick fixes. For example, I wanted to set up. I wanted to connect a. I wanted a BGP. Sorry, I wanted a DHCP server. So I put in a little MikroTik switch that was running a DHCP server, and off you go. I never used MikroTik for anything, like I said before, mission critical. So I don't have any direct experience with compatibility issues with other vendors.
Okay. What are your thoughts on network monitoring? And I'm just bringing this up because I used to be a monitoring engineer, so I have a lot of experience with monitoring stuff. So what are your thoughts there, your advice? Should people monitor their networks, and how would you advise them to do it?
Well, definitely monitoring is important. I think it's most important for the network administrator because it makes your life easier. So for the municipality, for example, that I support here, we've set up a network monitoring system that just very simple, just checks the uptime, just checks the connectivity of all of the network devices. We have about 85 switches in the whole network, a couple of routers, and it makes our job easier because we can proactively be informed of outages. We have it set up with Telegram as well. It sends us a message saying that such and this device went down, it's been down this long, or when it's rebooted or whatever. So we know beforehand what's happening. So if someone calls and says, hey, why is this building, we've lost connectivity? Yes, we already know, we're working on it, and it's going to be resolved very shortly. It makes the life of the network engineer much easier, and it also provides a level of professionalism to your clients, because when they call up and you say, "Oh, really? It went down? What happened?" You look like you don't know what's happening.
Yep.
But if you're already on top of it, you can, we're working on it and it's almost fixed, or you resolve it before anyone notices, which is even better.
And you can let them know.
And then you can send the report afterwards saying that there was downtimes for a minute and a half at this place and this place, whatever. And they say, "Oh, wow, you've responded in that way. That's wonderful." So I think the major benefit, other than the fact that you make sure that you maximize uptime, which is the most important thing. It's also good for the network engineer because they are able to do their job professionally, and it simplifies your job.
What tools do you use for monitoring stuff?
One of my employees has set it up. It's Libre NMS, which just follows the network. Now, what they've asked for recently from the municipality is they want to check the quality of the network at each location. There are 12 big buildings that are interconnected with the municipal area network, the fiber optic network, and there are over 40 smaller buildings that are connected. So it's one thing to see uptime. I mean, just the pings show you that a device is up. But if you want to check the quality, you need something like an IPSLA. So right now we're in the process of creating an IPSLA in various Cisco devices at various locations. And that IPSLA is going to be sending information to the server. And we're going to there's going to be a developer who's going to put together a small script that's going to be able to show a list of all the locations and then give a percentage with a color that shows the quality of the link. So, 97% green or 100% green. And then if it's under 90%, it'll go to yellow, so that with one look at the dashboard, and this is catered towards non-technical people, they'll be able to go in and see what is the quality of the links at each location. And then you can actually click on that location and then it'll give you the quality of the links that connect to other sites within the municipality, sites that are government sites that are used by the people in the municipality, or general internet connectivity. So that's something that we're developing right now. And on the one hand, it's good because you get an idea of what the network looks like. On the other hand, it's also a way to show your client, give them an opportunity to be able to participate in the monitoring of the network.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Thanks for sharing all that knowledge.
I'm sure that your experience with monitoring is deeper than mine, but that's maybe something that I guess we're working on currently, and it's I wanted to share.
Okay. Yeah, people do things different way everywhere, right? So you're using the routers, basically. They're going to be the ones sending the information. It's not going to be a server inside sending the information, right? So you're using the routers already.
That's right. And I think that has to also to do with the philosophy that we were talking about before. Are you willing to spend the money to develop something that's more detailed? Do you want to run, JSON or other scripting languages within the devices themselves to send more detailed information? Do you want to put a detailed SNMP agent in each device? At this point in time, that's financially they're not offering something that will be able to do that. So this is kind of a low cost solution.
So you have to adjust.
That gives them what they want.
Yeah,
exactly.
You have to adjust. Okay, and what would you recommend someone in my case, like for example, right? If you want to connect a small business, what do you use is small businesses or houses, right? I'm using MikroTik here. Is there any other vendor you would recommend besides MikroTik because you don't need like a huge router in a house or a small business? What vendor would you recommend in that case? Let's say that they want double ISP, right? And just fail over between the two ISPs. What do you usually do?
I have also used on some occasions TP-Link, which is another low-end vendor, but they have devices that have a lot of capabilities. I think they're on par with MikroTik, probably as far as reliability goes, but they're more intuitive in their configuration. Probably not as flexible as MikroTik, but I've in homes where it's nothing mission critical. It's a good solution that I've used.
Okay, wonderful.
For load balancing as well, and even very fundamental firewall or fundamental security or VPN implementation.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to be uploading this as a podcast as well. So I don't know when, because I still have a few other chapters that I need to upload. So you will be able to listen to this as a podcast, I don't know, a couple of weeks from now in all the major platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and all the other ones. So are there any final thoughts, anything you want to share before we wrap it up?
I think ultimately what's most important is to make sure that you do what you love. I will never forget something that an older cousin of mine said. I was 12 years old. He said, make sure that what you choose to do with your life, make sure that you love it. Because if you're going to be spending more time doing that than you are with your wife. And, at 12 years old, that really impressed me. And it stayed with me. 30, almost 40 years later. And that's so important. Love what you do. For me, my job is my hobby, and my hobby is my job. Monday morning comes, and I'm happy to go to the office. Not always. Okay, I'm not that crazy, but I like it. I enjoy it. So and for me, that's a huge blessing. It's a huge blessing to love what I do. And I think that if I would wish anything on someone I love, like my children, the thing that I would wish for them most is that they will love what they do. It gives not only job satisfaction, but I think life satisfaction, because it's a huge part of your life, what you do. And if you don't like it, it's
maybe
tormenting.
It's not there. Yeah, maybe you're not in the right place, right?
Yeah, maybe you're not in the right place. And if that's the case, don't be afraid of making the decision to change. Regardless of what area you're in. We're talking about telecom and networking, but you might be in something else. Don't be afraid to change if you're not content, if you're not satisfied, if you're not happy with what you're doing, because your happiness is worth it. It's worth it to make the change.
Okay, wonderful words. I'm just gonna show your YouTube channel real quick. So I'm gonna leave this in the video description, a link to your YouTube channel. You have all of your links listed here, right? Let me just switch to this real quick. There we go. So you have links here to your website. Let's see. Yeah, this is your website. Twitter, Instagram. So where should people go then? YouTube and to your website. Those are the main ones.
The YouTube and the website, yes.
Okay.
And also, from what you told me, you'll put in the description a link to the roadmap as well, the career roadmap, so people can download that for free as well. Okay,
wonderful. So it's been an honor, Lazarus. All of these years of experience were shared with a lot of people. I don't know how many people which will watch the video, you know, maybe at least one. I'm gonna watch it, you know. But I really thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing all of this with us, and hope to see you in the next video.
Okay, and I appreciate very much the opportunity you give me to chat about these things. It's a pleasure and an honor for me as well. I really appreciate it.
All right, Lazarus. I'll see you. Bye.
Bye-bye.